Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Epilepsy Gangster. I'll be your host, Tim Ulmer, as I introduce you to other people with epilepsy who are leading happy and productive lives. Now, I have been at odds with epilepsy my entire life. I am speaking to you this way because of what Epilepsy Gangster did to me. I have a vagus nerve implant stimulator, and people do not like to be told to shut up. Likewise, I don't like it to be in public when my voice goes strange on people. But that's the consequence of a VNS. And I have assembled this group of people who you're going to be meeting, and we are out against Epilepsy Gangster because Epilepsy Gangster robs people of opportunities and relationships. He steals from pension funds, saving plans, and college funds, and he makes people choose between living expenses and their medicine. And finally, Epilepsy Gangster kills. He kills people in their sleep. He causes them to have accidents, most notably in cars, that not only threaten their lives, but other people that are nearby. So Epilepsy Gangster must be stopped. Now, you will watch on our show and you will see people who have been happy and productive regardless of the fact they have epilepsy, and we want you to be inspired by their stories, and so that you'll want to become a member of my gang. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just come up through one of the most awful campaign seasons in most people's memory. We are lucky to have with us here on Epilepsy Gangster tonight a young man who puts those politicians to shame, and he's had assistance of his mother Colleen, and we're proud to have you join us on the show tonight. Paul, where is it you live, and tell us a little bit about what it is you've accomplished recently.
So I live in Maple Shade, New Jersey. Mm-hmm. So what I've accomplished is Paul's Law. So Paul's Law is aides, teachers, bus drivers, and all them, trying to make them recognize what a seizure is.
And how to respond to seizures to keep kids safe in school, right?
Yeah.
Oh, why did this become an important issue to you?
Because when I first had epilepsy, I didn't know what it was. But then when the doctor described it, because I had a seizure in front of him, I knew that I was a little scared, but we met with Senator Beach and I kind of felt safe.
Knowing that you would have protection in school because none of the teachers knew you were having seizures, I think. So I looked up the statistics with the CDC and how many kids in the state of New Jersey have epilepsy.
12,000.
So we found out it was 12,000 kids. And I said to Paul, what do you want to do? He said, well, I want to protect the kids. So we met with Senator Beach and we tirelessly worked on Paul's Law, and we actually formed a nonprofit called Paul's Purple Warriors, where, if you want to tell them what we're doing, we're raising money to do what?
We're raising money to put kids in the epilepsy camp.
We're working with the Epilepsy Alliance of New Jersey to send kids there, and we're paying for that. And we're working with the Epilepsy Foundation of Pennsylvania, and we're sending kids to their camp. And the goal eventually is for us to raise enough money to have our camp, of our own for several weeks, and be able to fly kids to that and have them be able to do things that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do, that they might not feel safe doing. So that's our ultimate goal. But for now, we're sending kids to other camps.
Well, that's marvelous, absolutely marvelous. What made it so important to you that you get this at school? Was there trouble with classmates or what?
The trouble in school was I've been bullied throughout it. Not really severely, but minorly, I guess.
Yeah. About the epilepsy.
Yeah.
I think that's a part of it. As you know, epilepsy can be a tough disorder, and initially we didn't realize that they were seizures. I hadn't seen them. They were happening mainly at school. And he would say, I have an eye twitch. They started very small, and then they progressed to a higher frequency, and more than an eye twitch, from the eye to the hand to the head to the one whole side of his body, and to like several in a day. So it took a while for us to get a diagnosis because someone needed to see it to diagnose it. For us, it was a matter of, making Paul feel safe, and for teachers learning how to recognize seizures. Because if somebody would have recognized this sooner, we would have got a diagnosis sooner. We could have got help sooner. So I think that's, the main driving force, and the fact that 12,000 children in the state of New Jersey. How many adults, Paul? How many total people in New Jersey?
I think it's 97,000.
Yes,
94,000 to 97,000, I think.
Right. People have epilepsy in New Jersey. So we just thought, training school personnel would be a nice place to start, and a good conversation as a beginning to eventually training businesses down the line.
What did you expect your future would be like when all this was starting?
I didn't really think that it was going to be like a normal future since I have this. But I still believe that I can do what I want to do. Like, I can probably like fulfill my dreams, and I can like follow my destiny, or whatever they say.
Yeah. Absolutely, you can.
What do you think your destiny is, Paul?
So my destiny is helping people with like epilepsy and epilepsy awareness, and just like helping people with all their problems.
What are some of the people you've dealt with through all this?
Senator Beach, Donald Norcross,
Donald Norcross is a U.S. congressman, and then
Cory Booker.
Cory Booker is a United States senator. So he's met a lot of pretty famous politicians during his advocacy work, but he's gotten along with them really well, and they've really enjoyed his company, and it's been fun, right? Pamela Lampett, she gave you her Senate seat. Pamela Lampett, she is an assemblywoman, and she let Paul sit in her seat to press the button in the assembly. So the board lit up, and it was all unanimous votes. So he actually got to vote for his own law. And then when we went to the Senate, tell him what happened there. Senator Beach
got to sit in the Senator Beach's seat and press the button.
Yeah, so it was an awesome experience.
Tell us about meeting the governor.
Governor Murphy is like, he's a really good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
We're gonna edit that out. I really had a good time. I was kind of surprised most of the time because like meeting a governor, like think about it. It's huge. But
he was very down to earth and nice, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he said a very profound thing to Paul, which I will never forget. And I don't think Paul will ever forget it either. And I thought this was beautiful. And it actually choked me up a little bit, Tim. He said, it is not very often that I get to sign a law named after a living human being. Usually it is a very tragic story where a law is named after someone because they've passed away. He said, I feel very privileged to be signing a law for a young man who has his whole life to live, who's making a difference in this world. So that was like just such a beautiful, I'm like choked up now. That was such a beautiful, profound thing. So, hopefully we can continue to make a little slice of a difference in this world.
Well, boy, after meeting all these leaders and rubbing elbows with them, I mean, there's people that are my age who've never met a city councilman or something, and here you are rubbing elbows with U.S. senators and congressmen and governors. Come on, that had to send a tingle up your spine, didn't it?
Yeah, a little.
Yeah. He's a sports guy, so someone was kind enough to tell the 76ers about him, and he got to be champion of the game, and they invited him to a Sixers game, and he could bring me and his aunt and his uncle, and he got to meet some of the players. They gave him a jersey. So I think that was a highlight through all this too, because he is such a sports fan.
Tell me, Paul, what would you like to tell people of any age that have epilepsy? What advice do you have for them?
Like, don't give up. You still have a whole life to live. Stay strong. Always take your medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be late. If you're like a minute late, that's okay. But yeah.
That's good. That's a good one.
And how about you as a caregiver of such a brilliant young political activist here?
There was two ways that I guess I could have gone with this. I could have gone with the, oh no, woe is me, woe is my son route, or I could have gone with the, to hell with you, epilepsy. I can't make you go away. But what I can do is find ways to fight back against you so we win and you don't. And I guess, the legislation is kind of how I went about that.
Okay, well, I can't think of anything else to ask you at the moment, and we want to wish you the very best in everything that you do, Paul, and I really hope this will be an example not just to your peers, but to also grown adults who've gotten an epilepsy unexpectedly and may feel that the world's come crashing down on them. I think you're an inspiration for everybody.
I do too, Tim, and thank you for having us. We really appreciate it. Maybe our story will, inspire people. We have 45 states. We still need that law in. So, we're running a Facebook group, a national Facebook group, trying to get people interested in doing advocacy for seizure-safe schools in their states. So we can have 50 seizure-safe states, not 5. So Thank you for your time, Tim.
Very good.
Hi, my name is Paul and I have epilepsy.
And I'm his best friend Shane.
And we want to tell you a story. I was at my best friend Shane's house and I started having a seizure. Shane, do you want to go on?
Sure. So, me and Paul were in my backyard. He was sitting in a chair, I was sitting across from him. And I said, "Are you okay?" 3 times. He didn't respond, so I counted and made sure he was safe. And he didn't respond, and then after that, he responded and said, "I felt like I had a seizure." So then I made sure that he wouldn't fall, and I called his mom immediately.
It's always good to have you around. Thanks, Shane.
No problem. That's what friends are for.
The Defeating Epilepsy Foundation is a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping those battling epilepsy. We provide advocacy and educational services to those battling epilepsy at a global level. For more information about our projects and services, please visit our website at www.defeatingepilepsy.org or email us at info@defeatingepilepsy.org. Please like us on social media and follow us so you can see how we are making a difference. Thank you for your support, and together we will defeat epilepsy.
Hi, I am Natalie Beavers, and I am one of the many survivors living with epilepsy. My life has been filled with many ups and downs. It's just a part of life. I am proud of the person that I am becoming, and as I stand in the face of this relentless disorder called epilepsy, I want you all to know that I am me.
Our next guest is somebody who the Epilepsy Gangster is very worried about because Natalie Beavers has been an outspoken advocate for and inspiration to people who have epilepsy nationwide. She's got her own story to share with us about her activities. Welcome, Natalie. Natalie, can you please tell us a little bit about how the Epilepsy Gangster came into your life and a little bit about your seizures.
Epilepsy began in my life when I was 5 years old. I had a very high temperature and I started to go into convulsions, and they took me to the emergency room. And again, due to multiple convulsions, that's how I was diagnosed with epilepsy. They saw a scar on the left side of my brain the size of a dime. So after that, that was, my life adventure beginning with epilepsy. I was in the first grade.
The Epilepsy Gangster has certainly played a role in your life, but something that's interesting, you are one of the first people to refer to people with epilepsy as epileptic survivors.
I'm 43 years old. So growing up years ago, again, I was diagnosed at the age of 5. Many people refer to those having seizures or those diagnosed with epilepsy as epileptics. And I just didn't refer to that name quite well. And as I became older, I became a little wiser. And myself and other advocates and other survivors, we just didn't like that name as epileptic. So when people say, when I introduce myself, or if someone wants to do a presentation about me, I consider myself as an epilepsy survivor and not epileptic. And there are many, many people, even many decades ago, they say epileptic, but I refer as epilepsy survivor.
Now, you've been a very strong advocate and very important in Georgia for researching cannabis oil.
A little girl by the name of Charlotte Fiji. She was having multiple seizures like per day, like over 200 seizures a day. Their family tried almost every single medication to help their child, and they chose to experiment cannabis oil. It did decrease their children's seizures. So they moved to other states where cannabis oil, where it was dispensed. I even traveled to the West Coast and experimented myself as an epilepsy survivor. I've noticed a change in the decrease of my seizure activity. I became a cannabis oil advocate, wrote letters to the Georgia State, Senate's offices, made phone calls. I found out when they were having the, meetings down at the Georgia State Capitol. I was there. State Representative Alan Peake. I seen him on several occasions there. He was speaking so much on TV about how he wanted the cannabis oil to be passed for the children dealing with epilepsy. He said not only epilepsy, but there are other people that have illnesses that need this cannabis oil so they can survive and live a good life. They ended up passing the law for people to receive a Georgia registration card, but it has to be, dealt with your doctor and so forth. So I am now a Georgia cannabis oil registration card. So I do have my card registration.
When did this go into effect?
The actual bill was passed in 2015, but I was doing my research maybe about 2 years before all of that.
Is this common around America, or is there still a lot of states that need to get on the ball with cannabis oil?
It's still a lot of states, and people are still fighting for it. People, they say, I wish, this law could be passed here, in this state. So I tell people you can do the same thing that I did. Continue to write to your state representatives. Continue to go down there. You can contact local radio stations or TV broadcasting and tell your story about what's going on with your health and how cannabis oil, even though it is marijuana, but it's a plant and it's an oil that comes from the plant, but it does help with a lot of illnesses and medical conditions, and it's amazing, honestly.
People with epilepsy will gain some big encouragement from watching this program.
Absolutely.
What other concerns do you have for people with epilepsy that you'd like to bring before the government?
A main concern that I have is driving with this medical condition, with this illness. In June of 2006, I had a seizure while driving and it became a tragic car accident. And I do not want anyone to go through what I faced because that changed my life. But there are so many stories that are on the rise, and I'm hoping to get a law passed that will have a connection with the actual doctors and the state and the survivor, where it's an agreement because there are still so many people out there with epilepsy who are driving no matter what. And it is causing a high risk of, again, people being hurt, lives that could be taken. And there are even some people that are incarcerated due to accidents or vehicular homicides, due to having a seizure while driving. So there's a change that must come. So I'm working on that and hopefully we can make some changes soon. I want to begin in our state of Georgia and then take it further. This could definitely help change lives, save lives as well.
Well, good grief. You're talking about vehicular homicide is exactly the kind of thing Epilepsy Gangster likes to use. The term vehicular homicide really expresses how dangerous Epilepsy Gangster can be.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
What else would you like to advise people with epilepsy and their caregivers about? What one thing would you like to leave them with?
Just continue to have faith and stay strong. We have this major, major medical condition. We were actually number 5. Many years ago, we were number 5 on as the top medical condition on the list around the world. But now we're number 4. That means more and more people are being diagnosed with epilepsy. And, many people dealing with epilepsy, they become, I would say, saddened. They feel alone, but it's okay. We are some of the strongest people on this earth. Your brain controls everything in your body. And when we come out of having a seizure, we are a hero. We are a champion. And a lot of people have to understand that. So I tell people to just continue to, stay positive, stay focused. You're going to be okay. If you made it out of this episode and you made it out of the next one and the next one, you are a true hero. You are a champion. So just continue to stay strong, stay motivated, and just, keep yourself empowered.
Well, boy, listening to your comments there, Epilepsy Gangster's got to be sweating to know that he's up against an opponent like you.
Absolutely.
You're known across the country for Angels of Epilepsy. Please tell us what that is.
Yes, Angels of Epilepsy. I started the nonprofit charity right before my brain surgery at Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. I met many people at the hospital, survivors, parents, caregivers, and it gave me the idea to start some type of support group. I said, I believe I need to start a charity so I can actually help. And that's what gave me the idea to start a 501c3 nonprofit charity and advocacy. And that was in 2008. We're getting ready to celebrate 12 years. I said, I don't want the organization to just be a organization. I want it to be as if we're family. So we've been going strong for 12 years. And not only do we help people in the state of Georgia, but we help people in so many states and around the world.
You're exactly the kind of person Epilepsy Gangster is terrified of wherever he's lurking. Well, you've also got a book out. Would you please tell us what's important about your book and where people can find it?
Yes. The Seizure Diary, I created that in 2013 due to my short-term memory loss. I was at the doctor's office one day and I couldn't remember when my seizures were occurring or the dates or how did it happen. And the doctors was asking a lot of questions. And that's what gave me the idea to create the Seizure Diary, where I could actually, or myself or my parents or my children could write down in that journal the date of my seizure, the time, or was I asleep or awake, and the descriptions for the doctor. Also has a journal in there as well, and also some inspiration and motivation as well. But I created it in 2013, and it has sold in 7 countries so far, and that's great. Yes, yes, and it's
11
available.
countries.
Oh, yes, yes, and it's available on our website. And
Anywhere else?
Yes, it's on Amazon.com as well, but it's also available on our website at angelsofelpilepsy.org.
Okay, well, Natalie, it's a pleasure to meet you. And Epilepsy Gangster, you're going to have to work hard to beat this woman and her organization. Thank you for joining us, Natalie.
And thank you so much, Tim. I enjoyed speaking with you today and sharing my story. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
What is the meaning of life? What happens to us after we die? How do we define love? What makes someone a good citizen? What would be the best form of government? A man with epilepsy grappled with these questions in an intense and organized method over 2,400 years ago. His ideas and methods are still studied and applied to this day. He laid the cornerstones of Western philosophy. This Greek didn't write down his works himself, but what we know about him was recorded after his death, mostly by his most noted student, Plato. Plato recorded that his teacher described a daimon that visited him throughout his life, bringing him instructions. The ancient Greeks called this the sacred disease, believing that such messages came from the gods on Mount Olympus. Sometimes the philosopher became motionless for minutes during a conversation. When he continued talking later, it was common for him to ask others to repeat what he had just said to them because I found the idea too remarkable to remember it myself. A century later, another Greek, Hippocrates, refuted that there was nothing sacred about such behavior, known now as epilepsy. Today's experts say the visits to the philosopher by his daimon were symptomatic of partial seizures, and that his immobility is symptomatic of complex partial seizures. This great philosopher was Socrates. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle.
Epilepsy Gangster. Well, what's your impression of my gang members? They're pretty remarkable people, aren't they? And there's millions more around the world. Frankly, Epilepsy Gangster, your time is running out. And for the rest of you, my friends, may you be seizure free until we meet again, and may God bless you.